You meet him at a charity gala in Miami. He's wearing a suit that costs more than your car and talking to a senator like they're old friends. Someone introduces you. He shakes your hand and holds it 1 second longer than normal. Not creepy, intentional, like he's already decided you matter. He's charming, well read, and asks you questions about yourself like your answers actually interest him. You ask what he does. He says import export. You nod. You don't ask what he imports. You don't ask what he exports. He smiles like that was the right answer. 3 months later, you're in love with a man whose business card has no company name on it. 6 months later, you're engaged. What you don't know yet is that the charity gala wasn't charity, it was networking. And you just became part of the network. The money is the first thing that doesn't add up. He buys you a car for your birthday. Not a nice car, a car that has a waiting list you've been dating for 4 months. You tell him it's too much. He says don't worry about it in a tone that means stop asking. His apartment is a penthouse with art on the walls that you later Google and discover costs 6 figures per piece. He pays for everything in cash. Not sometimes, always. The restaurant, the vacation, the jewelry. You've never seen him use a credit card. You mention this once and he says he doesn't like banks tracking him. You laugh because it sounds like a joke. He doesn't laugh back. You stop mentioning it. He has 2 phones, one for you, one for everything else. The everything else phone rings at 3 a.m. and he takes it in another room with the door closed. He comes back to bed and tells you it was work. You ask what kind of work happens at 3 a.m. He kisses your forehead and says the kind that lets us live like this. You let it go. You let it go because the bed is comfortable, the apartment is beautiful, and the man next to you makes you feel like the only person in the world. You let it go because the alternative is asking a question you're not ready to hear the answer to. You meet his associates, and they're not what you expected. You expected rough, dangerous looking. Instead, they wear tailored clothes and talk about real estate portfolios. One of them owns a chain of laundromats, another runs a car wash empire, a third has a restaurant that's always empty but somehow never closes. You're not stupid. You went to college, you've seen the shows. But there's a distance between watching something on a screen and sitting at a dinner table with it. That distance is exactly the size of the steak on your plate and the champagne in your glass. He proposes with a ring that a jeweler brought to the apartment in a private briefcase. No store, no receipt. He gets on one knee in the living room, and the skyline is behind him, and it feels like a movie. You say yes because you love him. You also say yes because by now you've built a life inside his life, and leaving would mean dismantling everything. Your closet is full of clothes he bought. Your friends think he's a successful entrepreneur. Your mother thinks he's the best thing that ever happened to you. The lie isn't something he told you. It's something you built together, brick by brick, every time you didn't ask a follow-up question. The wedding is ridiculous. 300 guests, a private island, a 4-day event with a guest list that includes a judge, 2 city officials, and a music producer who flew in on his own plane. Your college friends are there looking around like they've been abducted by aliens. Your maid of honor pulls you aside and asks where all this money comes from. You say import-export. She looks at you for a long time. You look away first. Married life starts beautifully. A house with a gate, a pool, and a security system that requires a code, a thumbprint, and a camera check. You thought the security was because he's wealthy. It is. But not the kind of wealthy that worries about burglars. The kind that worries about rivals. You find this out the night 2 men show up at 1 a.m. and your husband has a conversation at the front door that lasts 45 minutes while you sit in the bedroom pretending to be asleep. He comes back and says it was a business dispute. You ask if everything's okay. He says everything's fine. His jaw is clenched so tight you can see the muscle twitching. Everything is not fine. You start noticing the rules. Never answer his second phone. Never open the office door when it's locked. Never mention specific names around certain people. Never post the front of the house on social media. Never tell anyone where you're going if he says to stay home. These aren't spoken rules. They're absorbed through repetition, through glances, through the way his tone shifts when you accidentally cross one. You're not a prisoner. You can leave whenever you want. But the architecture of your life has been quietly redesigned so that leaving would mean leaving everything, the house, the car, the lifestyle, the man, and starting from zero with a set of truths you'd have to explain to people who would never look at you the same way. The first time you see the real operation is an accident. You come home early from a trip and the office door is open. There's cash on the desk, not stacks. Bricks, wrapped, labeled, and organized like inventory. Your husband appears in the doorway. He doesn't yell. He doesn't threaten. He just looks at you and says, "Now you know." You stand there for what feels like 5 minutes, but is probably 10 seconds. Then you walk to the kitchen, pour yourself a glass of wine, and sit on the couch. He sits next to you. Neither of you says anything for a long time. That silence is a contract. You didn't sign it, but you didn't leave either. You start sleeping less. Not because of fear exactly, but because of awareness. The kind of awareness that once it switches on, it doesn't switch off. Every car parked too long on your street is suspicious. Every phone call he takes in another room is a scenario. Every time he's late coming home, you run through possibilities that range from traffic to federal raid to something you can't even name. You develop a habit of checking the windows before bed. He notices and doesn't say anything. He just installs better locks, your mother visits, and you perform normalcy like it's a Broadway show. The house is beautiful. The husband is charming. The refrigerator is full. She tells you she's so proud of the life you've built. You smile and say thank you and feel something collapse inside your chest that you can't put back together after she leaves. You sit in the bathroom and cry, not because you're sad, but because you can't tell anyone the truth. The loneliness of a secret is worse than the secret itself. You're surrounded by luxury and completely, fundamentally alone with what you know. He comes home one night with a cut above his eye. He says he walked into a door. You clean it without asking questions. He holds your wrist while you're pressing the bandage and says, "I would never let anything happen to you." You believe him. You also understand that the sentence implies there are things that could happen to you, and the only barrier is him. That's not a comfort. That's a leash made of love, and you're not sure when you agreed to wear it. 2 years in, you develop a routine that keeps you sane. Gym in the morning, lunch with friends who think your life is perfect, home by 4. Dinner together when he's there, alone when he's not. You become excellent at compartmentalizing. There's the version of you that knows and the version that functions, and they take shifts like workers at a factory. Some days the knowing version shows up at the wrong time, like when you're at brunch and someone mentions a drug bust on the news and you have to control your face so precisely it makes your jaw ache. But mostly the functioning version runs the show. She's good at her job. She has to be. The moment you almost leave comes at 3 a.m. on a Thursday. Sirens outside? Close. He's not home. Your heart is beating so fast you can feel it in your teeth. You grab your passport, your phone, and a bag you packed 6 months ago and never unpacked. You stand at the back door with your hand on the handle. The sirens pass. They were going somewhere else. You put the bag back in the closet. You don't unpack it. But you don't leave either. That bag becomes the most honest object in your house. It says what you can't. 3 years in, something changes in him. He's tired in a way that isn't physical. He talks about getting out. Not today, not tomorrow, but eventually. He mentions a country with no extradition treaty the way other men mention retirement homes. You listen and you don't know if this is hope or another version of the trap. Because leaving this life isn't a resignation letter. It's a negotiation with people who don't negotiate. You've learned enough by now to know that. 5 years in, you're on a balcony in a city you can't name, in a country you flew to on a passport that isn't your real one. He's next to you, watching the sunset, looking more relaxed than you've ever seen him. The house in Miami is gone. The associates are gone. The phones are gone. He's just a man on a balcony, holding your hand, watching the sky turn orange. You should feel free. You mostly do. But there's a part of you that still checks the street below for cars that stay too long. There's a part that still flinches when a phone rings. There's a part that will never fully unclench because you lived inside a machine for 5 years and the machine lives inside you now. He asks what you're thinking. You say nothing. He knows you're lying. He always knows. You look at him and see every version at once. The man in the suit at the gala. The man with the cash on the desk. The man who cleaned up your tears without asking why you were crying. The man who kept a loaded gun in a safe behind a painting you picked out together. You love him. That was never the question. The question was always what you were willing to become in order to keep loving him. You still don't have the answer. But the sun is setting and he's holding your hand, and for tonight, not knowing is enough.